Hey guys, Tara here from Recovering Book Hoarder, and today I am bringing you my August 2021 wrap up, and it was an awesome month. I read a grand total of 27 books, which I am quite sure is my best reading month ever. So both in quantity and in quality, it was just fabulous. So sit back, grab a cup of something, and let me see how quickly I can talk about this plethora of books. All right, so I'm going to go through these in the order that I finished them for the month. So, started with When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, and this one I listened to on Scribd. I did enjoy this. This is about a neighborhood in Brooklyn that is experiencing gentrification, and it says on here a thriller, and let me tell you, it is a thriller. It is quite horrific, the things that are happening in this town. Ended up giving it 4 stars. It got 4 stars instead of 5 stars because I felt that the ending just wrapped up too neatly, if that makes sense. But still, 4 stars for me on a psychological thriller is really quite good. I hand out 5 stars on psychological thrillers not often because it takes a lot to surprise me. And I read Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, and this I wound up giving 3 stars. I have a really weird relationship with Grady Hendrix. He's one of those that when I read him first, and the first book I read by him was The Southern Woman Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I can never remember exactly what the title is. Pretty sure that's it. I was so disgusted reading that book, but at the same time, I laughed out loud several times. I was so drawn to the characters, the setting. It took place in the 80s. He really brought the 80s alive. And so at first, when I read that book, I was like, I think I have to break up with him. I think he's a little too gory for me. But then I continue, still, it's been months since I have read that book, maybe over a year, and I continue to think about it, which means it's good. Okay, so this was my second go round with Grady Hendrix, I think. And one of my coworkers, Taylor, let me borrow this book. Very kind of her. And this takes place in a generic, cheaper, American-based type of IKEA store called Orsk. And it is a ghost story about what happens in this place after dark when some employees have to stay to try and figure out some crazy things that have been happening. And it was fun. It was a very fun read. It was not the best thing I've ever read, but it was a very solid 3 stars. It was fun. So I want to continue with Grady Hendrix, and yeah, I feel like I need to read all his stuff. We'll see. That's my goal anyways, is to read everything Grady Hendrix has written now, because I went from thinking I shouldn't read him again to wanting to read it all. Yeah, it happens. Then I read, grabbing from the wrong pile. I've got 4 piles, that's how many books I read. The Maidens by Michaelides. I always have to think through how to say that. I heard him talk at the end of, I think it was at the end of The Silent Patient, and I had no idea how to say the last name, and it's Michaelides. So Alex Michaelides. I enjoyed this one just as much as I enjoyed The Silent Patient. I did not see the twist coming, and again, that says something, but still not like the best psychological thriller I've ever read, but solid 4 stars. I think the reason it got 4 was because it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be based on the description. I thought there was going to be more of the secret society type vibe, and there really wasn't. It's in there, but it's not like, I don't know, I didn't feel like it was the main focus. But in any case, it was enjoyable. Didn't see the twist coming, so that means it was good. Right, then I read Church of Cowards by Matt Walsh, a wake-up call to complacent Christians, and this I wound up giving 3 stars. This was tough because I personally feel like this was written from a very far right perspective, and I'm much more like, I'm very middle. I'm not far left. I'm not far anything. I am middle. I'm independent. I am not a Democrat. I am not Republican. Sit in the middle. In any case, got 3 stars as opposed to 2, because even though I didn't agree with everything he had to say, there was a lot of like blow your mind kind of moments in here, which made it worth the 3 star and not the 2 star. So I do recommend it if you are a Christian. It is like a wake-up call in many different areas of your life. So do with that what you will. All right. Then I read In Search of Eden by Linda Nichols, and this was a 5-star book for me. I adore Linda Nichols so much. This is the last book I had to read of hers. This is from her Second Chances series. I did not read this in order. You do not have to read them in order. The only thing that ties them together is the fact that people are given a second chance. There is no like recurrent characters or anything like that. And this is the story of our main character who had a baby whenever she was quite young, and her mother forced her to give the baby up for adoption. She was not allowed to even know what the baby's gender was whenever she gave birth. And this is the story of her wandering and going on a journey to try and find her child, because she's always felt that space is empty. There's always that place in her heart. She never feels like she's settled, and she's always searching and things like that. So it was excellent. I cannot recommend Linda Nichols enough. Unfortunately, she had the 4 in this series, and then she has 1 other book, and then that is it. She just like disappeared. And these are not new books. This was written in 2007. So it's been a while. So I don't know if like her ideas just dried up or what, but I need more from her because she was so good. These books are so good. So if you want a good, wonderful Christian fiction that is not corny in the slightest, that has such a strong faith-based message with amazing characters, fabulous setting, like there is nothing wrong with this book. You even laugh out loud. You laugh, you cry. It's got it all. Pick up these books by Linda Nichols. All right, then I listened to People Like Her by Ellery Lloyd, and this wound up being 4 stars. This didn't get like the best views on Goodreads, I don't feel like, but I found it enjoyable. I wanted to continue listening to it when I wasn't, like I made excuses to listen to it. I came up with things to do, so I had time to listen to it. And this is about a social media influencer who is being stalked. And again, my issues usually comes down to the ending on whether or not it's believable. And yeah, again, this one was like, it just wrapped up too conveniently. I don't like it when it's convenient. Like it needs to make sense, but not be convenient for convenience sake. Like I'm not going to, I don't want to spoil it, but if you read it, just know I had a hard time accepting the ending. Again, though, it did keep me guessing, and I guessed wrong several times, which I like in my psychological thrillers. Then I finally got to read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and this was one of my 5-star predictions for 2021, and I wound up giving this 4 stars. So I was close. I enjoyed it. I really like how short the chapters were. Like that's the thing. I really like a shorter chapter because I want to read more. Like it was 4 stars, but to be perfectly honest, now that I'm sitting here and I read this, obviously it was like a good deal through, but you can see I really remember those other ones. I don't remember the specifics to this one enough, so it really didn't stick with me, but I enjoyed it while I was reading it. So this is about a woman who commits suicide, and when she commits suicide, she goes to the Midnight Library. And in the Midnight Library, she is presented with a book of choices. This whole library is filled with all different choices she could have made in different areas of her life. So there's like the Book of Regrets, She chooses an area where she believes that if she had picked differently, her life would have been different for the better, and she gets to go experience that life. If she decides that she likes that life, she can stay there forever. If not, then she's sucked back in and she tries again, and she kind of has until her body gives up. So this goes on until like she truly dies in real life. So very good. Definitely suicide triggers in there. But yeah, now that I'm talking about it, I definitely remember more of it. So, but 4 stars. And that was my first, Matt Haig. I definitely want to read more by him. Then I read The Plot by Jean Hanf Korelitz, and this was a very different kind of psychological thriller. So there is this MFA professor who is teaching a seminar, a small group seminar at this college. And he gets this really arrogant guy who comes in and is like, listen, I have the greatest plot for a book ever. And I don't care how bad of a writer you are, you couldn't mess up with this plot. I'm telling you, I'm the next like big thing. You know, he thinks it's like the next Michael Crichton or the next Stephen King or what, he's the next big thing. And the professor's like, oh, okay. I've heard this song and dance before. The guy lets him read it, and he's like, all right, that is actually like a really good plot. So several years go by, and the professor thinks to himself one day, you know, I wonder whatever happened to that book, because I'm sure I would have heard about it at this point. Like, that's how great that plot was. So he goes online and he Googles the guy and discovers, lo and behold, several months after the symposium, he died. And so the professor decides, that was a great plot, and I really need to take that and write the story myself. He doesn't plagiarize. It's entirely his own story. He just uses this guy's plot. And lo and behold, someone knows that he has stolen this plot. And he cannot figure out who. Now, it was an enjoyable story. I did, however, pretty much have it figured out very early on who was the person that knew and things like that. So that part bothered me, but the book itself was enjoyable, and I did like it. It was a very different kind of book. Right, then I read Prey by Michel Crichton, and I enjoyed it. It was 3 stars. Here's the thing. Michel Crichton, or Michael Crichton, for those of us in the United States. Emily Fox over at Reading with Emily Fox. I think that's what's called, Reading with Emily Fox. She's French-Canadian, and she pronounces it Michel Crichton, and I prefer that. So that's how I say it now. He's way too smart for me. He is just so very, very smart. I personally, when it comes to like biological life science kind of things, not my area at all. Behavioral science, that's more of my area, but physical science, So there's a lot of like scientific explanation here that went over my head. And because of that, it kind of takes me out of the story. So I do really enjoy the story, and that's what I've found with his books, with the exception of Timeline. Timeline, 5-star read. Love Timeline, one of my favorite books of all time. All the other ones I have read by him, I typically fall around 3 stars because that science, it just gets so sciencey and I don't understand it. So, but the story is usually really good. So that's why it ends up with 3 stars. So in this one, we have these like micro nanobot things that they're going to use in like surgery. Like you would put these into a person's body. It would literally be these microscopic cameras that go everywhere in their body, and it would like revolutionize science and medicine as we know it. Well, of course, humans decide that we're going to like make this a weapon, and things go wrong, and it starts to develop like a brain, become sentient, and these and it's a prey, and it's a predator. We are the prey. It's going after humans and animals and all other life kind. So this is about the scientist that has to go in and figure out how to kill the artificial intelligent nanobots. And yeah, best explanation I can give it. All right, then I read Triggers by Amber Leah and Wendy Speak, exchanging parents' angry reactions for gentle biblical responses. This wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought this was a teenager on the front screaming. So I thought it was going to be about parenting teenagers. I was wrong. This is apparently a mother on the front screaming. So it's not that it was not good. I mean, it was a 3-star read. It was fine. It just wasn't what I needed for where my child is in her life. So I'm definitely going to be passing this on to a mama that has little ones that I think would get a lot out of it right now. Then I read Final Girls by Riley Sager. Like in a horror movie, final girls are the girl that's left at the end of a slaughter film. The one that, like, you know, lives for whatever reason. In this book, there are 3 final girls, and they were the ones that were left at the end of a horrific slaughter, but like in real life instead of in a movie. And someone is starting to pick them off one by one. And I ended up giving this 4 stars. I did end up guessing who was the person pretty early on, but it wasn't a confident guess. I was kind of going back and forth between 2 people. So, yeah, it was good. It was not my favorite Riley Sager, but it was up there. At this point, I'll tell you I'll tell you the order for my Riley Sagers whenever we get to the last one, because this month I finished all of the Riley Sagers. Can now say I've read them all. So we'll talk about my order in a second. All right, then I read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I really loved this a whole lot. So this is a family drama that follows the biological children of this like super famous rock star. It reminded me kind of like Mick Jagger, like in Rolling Stones. That's who I kept thinking of when I was reading this. But it could easily be like Elvis, like any of those really big rock stars from, you know, back in like the 60s, early 70s. And then the kids. Now, I watched an interview with Taylor Jenkins Reid, and she actually said that her like inspiration was actually Brooke Shields, is the person that inspired our like main character that we follow in here, which is the oldest child of the rock star. All right, so you get this like dual timeline for a while where you follow that rock star meeting the mother and getting married, and then like you follow that up until it converges with our modern timeline, which is in 1983. And it takes place in Malibu. There's this big party. There's some major family drama in here. And I'm big on family dramas. That's a trope that I like a lot, but it has to be done right. And Taylor Jenkins Reid really did it right. So I definitely recommend this one. It was 5 stars. All right, then I listened to He Started It by Samantha Downing. I listened to this one on audio. And this one, so I did not love His Lovely Wife. I think that's what it was called. Her first book, which I know a lot of people really did love. I wound up giving that one 2 stars. So I didn't read this one because I had liked the previous book. I read it because I really liked the cover of the book. Like, the cover of the book just looked like a lot of fun. And I actually had absolutely no idea what it was about. I guess based on the cover, I was thinking it was kind of like Carrie Underwood's song, Before He Cheats. Like, that's what I was thinking in my head. It is not. It is about a road trip that these siblings go on. They were told they had to go on this road trip by their grandfather who recently died. They have to recreate a road trip from their childhood. That was an interesting road trip. Just leave it there. And I really did enjoy this much more than I enjoyed His Lovely Wife. I gave this one 4 stars. I am looking forward to reading her newest book, which I have on reserve right now through Libby. So ready for that to come through. All right, then I listened to All Right, The Oral History of Richard Linklater's Dazed and Confused by Melissa Meraz. And this was a 4-star read. If you enjoy background information, making of kind of things, then you'll love this. This is written very much like, I have one that was The Office, I think it was by Andy Green, one that was about Game of Thrones, that's like these official behind the scenes kind of thing, told in interview format with like everybody that was involved in the making of. That's how this one is, including a couple people that weren't involved in the actual making of, but that it affected their lives strongly, such as Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino has a cameo in here, and it was 4 stars. I really enjoyable. Like, Dazed and Confused is very, very near and dear to my heart. One of my all-time favorites. It takes place in 1976. They're seniors in 1976, which also happens to be the year my parents graduated from high school. So that's kind of fun watching that and like knowing that these were the same kind of issues that they were dealing with whenever they were in high school. But, you know, it came out in the 90s, which is when I was a teenager, and I identified with it so much. It was the movie in college that I watched like weekly. I just loved it so much. So I really enjoyed that. If you love Dazed and Confused, if you're a child of the 90s like me, if you graduated in the 70s, you need to read this book, because guess what? It is actually based on Richard Linklater's life, and he graduated in 1976. So lots of fun. Read it if you like Dazed and Confused. All right, then I read, hold on, let me bring this next pal over here. Whew, I don't even know how I'm going to hold this for my thumbnail, guys. What She Knew by, I'm not sure if this is Gilly or Jilly McMillan. And this is about a mother who takes her son, who's like 6-ish, let's say he's about 6-ish. She's with him. They're like in the woods, but near this park. And he wants to go on this rope swing. And he says, can I run ahead? Can I just go? She's like, okay. She feels a little like, I don't know if I should let him go ahead, but she tells him he can take the dog, he can run ahead, she'll meet him at the rope swing. She gets to the rope swing, and lo and behold, he is gone without a trace. The dog's gone. Like, there is not a sign of him to be had anywhere. This is that story. And who took him? Where he is? Is he still alive? You have to read it to find out. This one was a 4-star read. All right, then I finished Sweetwater by Cara Reinard, and this one had so much potential. This was a great plot. Great plot. It's by a local author. It takes place 20 minutes from my house. I'm very, very familiar with the area where everything is in this. The house, which is a very, very cool house that's portrayed in this book, is a real life house in that same town called Swickley. Well, I didn't know this, learned this from the book, but Swickley actually means Sweetwater. That's the title of the book. No, it wasn't done well. And that's my complaint. I hated the characters. I didn't buy anything that they did. Didn't buy how they talked. She had teenagers speaking and writing in a kind of way that was definitely not the way that a teenager would speak or write. I feel like the main character said the same things over and over again. Like, she was such an idiot, but she's meant to be smart. Yeah, but a great premise. So, and it gets really good reviews on Goodreads. There's like thousands of reviews, and it's over 4 stars. I don't understand at all. But, so the parents who are rich, this woman, she married into a rich family, get a phone call in the middle of the night from their son saying that they need to come. He's in a lot of trouble. So they go out and find him in the middle of the woods. His girlfriend's dead. And he can't seem to remember anything that happened. And they make the decision to just leave this girl there. And then it's a story after that, you know, about rich people and how they can do things to subvert the law and all that stuff. I didn't like it. I wound up giving that 2 stars. Again, it was such a good premise. It just, the execution, didn't like it. Then I listened to The Last House Guest by Miranda. I had not read Miranda before, so wanted to give it a shot and see how I felt. And I wound up giving this 3 stars. I definitely would like to try another one by her. So in this one, let me see if I can even think how to describe this. This girl is really, really close with this other girl. The other girl comes from a very rich family, and they kind of take this girl in. She's somewhat of an orphan. They're older. They take her in, and she becomes like part of the family. When the girl, they like buy all this property in the area of where she was from, including the property that her grandmother had owned. And they believe that the girl that she was friends with, she ends up dead. They believe that she committed suicide. She, however, finds things that lead her to believe she was murdered. And it's the story about that. Then I read Diana, Her True Story by Andrew Morton. I did this as an ebook, and you guys know how I feel about ebooks. I only listened to it on an ebook because I thought it was an audiobook. I borrowed it from Libby. I thought it was going to be an audiobook. Lo and behold, it was an ebook. No, I had already passed up an opportunity to buy it really cheap, and I really wanted to read it, so I'm like, forget it. I'll get it like this. So, that always, I feel like, plays into my review somewhat. I feel like things automatically drop a star when I read it by ebook because it's just not enjoyable to me. So this one, my issue with it is that this is like an anniversary edition, and at the beginning of the book, there was the actual transcript of the interview, word for word in Diana's words. After that transcript is then the book, and where, the author adds some more details and information and puts in it. However, I felt like I was just rereading the same thing I had already read. So I feel like if that transcript had been put at the end of the book instead of the beginning of the book, I probably would have rated it higher, because then you have the option to not read the transcripts. If you want to, fine. If not, then no big deal. So that was my issue with it. I don't feel like I learned anything new, really, and probably because I've watched so many documentaries at this point about the royal family. But that was my issue with it. So, yeah. All right. Lock Every Door. Where's that one at? Okay. This was my last Riley Sager book. And I would say this is probably my least favorite. It was still good. It was still 3 stars. It was fun. There was this like really cool gothic like apartment building, I guess it is, in the middle of New York City. And this girl goes to house it. She's paid an exorbitant amount of money, and but then she finds out that like the house sitters just kind of keep disappearing, like literally disappearing. And you find out that the landlord kind of looks for people that have no connections. They're like orphaned, they're in dire need of money. There's really not going to be anybody looking for them. So it wasn't done as well as I think it could have been. And I think my biggest issue was the ending. This ending was really like, really? Like, I just, yeah. So that's how I felt about that. Still, I mean, it was fun. It was so, I think Riley Sager's books are fun. He doesn't write the best female characters. I don't think he's good at writing females. I mean, that's like bottom line. But I enjoy his books. So at this point, here's my order for Riley Sager. Home After Dark, Home Before Dark. Why can I never remember? I feel like it's Home Before Dark. That would be my number 1. And then The Last Time I Lied would be number 2. Then the Survive the Night would be number 3, and then Lock Every Door would be number 4. That's my order for Riley Sager.
Hey guys, editing Tara here. So I realized as I was editing that I forgot to say where I would put Final Girls. So there's actually 5 Riley Sager books, not 4. So Final Girls would be my number 3. Then Survive the Night, number 4, and Lock Every Door would be number 5.
Right, then I finished this gigantic book, Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow, and this is the penultimate biography of Alexander Hamilton, and this is what the musical Hamilton was inspired by, was this book. If you read this, you will never need to read another book about Alexander Hamilton ever again. But it does give you a lot of deep background information to what actually happened in Hamilton's life. So if you are interested in the American Revolution, American history, the Founding Fathers, any of that, I would recommend this. One thing I can say that this book made me understand is Aaron Burr's role in history. And in the musical, I really felt a lot of empathy for Aaron Burr. I liked him. I thought, like, man, he just kind of got, like, the crap end all the time. No. Aaron Burr in real life, nope, not a nice person. He has no redeeming qualities in this book. Let's see. All right, then I read Graceling by Kristen Kishore, and this is book 1 in the Graceling Realm series. This is a young adult fantasy. I did a book exchange with Chrissy over at Chrissy's Soul. I sent her 3 of my favorite books. She sent me 3 of her favorite books, and this is the last one I had to read. We read them one each month over the summer, and this was my least favorite out of the 3 that she sent me. This wound up being 3 stars. I initially thought it was going to be 2 stars, but as it went on and this one character was introduced, the book got better to me. And that character is Bitter Blue. I really liked Bitter Blue. I did not love the main character, which was Katsa. She was like, I don't know what it was about her. I didn't like her all that much. And I did not love the romance in here. So I am, however, going to continue on with it because I am interested in some of the other characters, and I know Bitter Blue has her own book. So I'll probably listen to all of those and get them from my library as opposed to buying it because, like I said, I didn't love it, but we'll see how I like the rest of them. Then Hail Mary, Andy Weir, 6-star read. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. And the day after I finished reading it, I could not stop thinking about it and I could not stop talking about it. If you love The Martian, you will love this book. And I don't want to give anything away because I had some surprise moments in here. All I'm going to tell you is I have a new favorite character. Like one of my new favorite characters of all time. Because, I can't just pick one. But okay, so one of my new favorite characters of all time. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm just going to say when you read this, it'll be the person that shares a name with a really, really famous movie. Okay. Love him so much. Movie title, I should say. So anyway, if you love sci-fi, if you loved The Martian, you need this book in your life. You need it. Look, I hug it because it was so good. I want to reread it again for the first time. Wouldn't that be nice if we had some kind of like button we could press like forget, and then we could reread something for the first time? I should do a video on books I want to reread again for the first time. We'll see. Maybe I'll do that around Christmas. All right, then my only DNF of the month. This is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, and this was my second book for the BookTube spin. And I just really didn't care for Thomas Hardy's writing style. I read quite a bit of it, and I just didn't want to read it anymore. It was like, blech. So I'm also gonna unhaul Far From the Maddening Crowd because I can't imagine I would like that if I didn't care for his writing in this. Okay, then I listened to The Nanny, and this is another one by Gilly or Jilly McMillan. And this one was not quite as good as the What She Knew book. So there's this, so our main character, when she was a child, she had a nanny because of course, her parents are like really rich. She had a nanny that was practically raising her, and then her nanny just disappeared out of nowhere. And that happens in the first chapter introduction, whenever it was. And then in the first chapter, we find a body. And they think maybe it's that nanny. And that's all I'm going to say. We'll just leave it at that. So it was 3 stars. It was fine. It was good. just not as good as the other one. Of course, when you read two by the same author in the same month, you do kind of compare them. But yeah, I guess I just like wasn't as excited to continue with it as I was other things. Then I read The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers, and this was a 5-star read. This was recommended to me by one of my viewers, and I cannot remember who it was that recommended it. That they were right. So if you recommended this book, thank you so much. You were right. I loved it. I love a circus trope. I would say if you said to me, what is your absolute favorite trope? I do believe it would be circuses. Circuses or fairs or anything like that falls into that same category. And this was a very different kind of circus. I really enjoyed the circus when we got to go to it. I loved the characters. The atmosphere was great. I really can't think of anything negative to say about this book. If you like circuses, you should pick this one up. All right, 2 more. Then we will be done. So many books this month. All right, Elizabeth and Margaret by Andrew Morton. Another one. So let's see. So there's 3 authors, right? In this month, I read 2 of them. The Intimate World of the Windsor Sisters. And this one was 3 stars. I really like Princess Margaret. I like the relationship that Princess Margaret and Queen Elizabeth had, because Princess Margaret has since passed on. After watching The Crown, you just feel so bad for Princess Margaret. Like, she gets the shaft all the time. In here, you find out she didn't get it quite as much as The Crown made it out to be. So I did, it was good, but again, I didn't feel like I learned that much new information, again, because I watched so much. I may just, and you know what, here's the thing, I think I have 2 more books by him on my shelf about the different royal family members, so I'm still gonna read them, but maybe I just know all there is to know at this point from like what's out. All right, last one of the month was The Waif Upstairs by Rachel Hawkins, and this wound up being a 4-star read. It is kind of like a retelling, flipped upside down retelling of Jane Eyre, and I have not read Jane Eyre, so I can't really compare it, but it's very obvious that this is a retelling of Jane Eyre, and it was enjoyable. It was one where I wanted to continue listening to it. It just wasn't quite 5-star. But still, I mean, if you were looking for something that's kind of a fun read and it's a psychological thriller, then go pick it up. All right, that is it. I'm sorry that this is going to be such a long video, but I read a lot this month. So, did you read any of these? Have you read any of these? What are your thoughts? Is there anything you would like to pick up now based on my thoughts on all of these books? If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you would like to connect with me, other places, everywhere you can find me on the interwebs is down below in the description box. All right, guys, I will catch you later. Bye.